Welcome to the Passive Income Podcast. I am your host, Dividend Dave. Please be sure to join the Passive Income Posse by clicking that subscribe button below. Super excited for this episode. Joining me is at Drip Dividends. You can find him on Twitter/X at Drip Dividend. Please go ahead and give yourself an introduction.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thank you for having me today on the podcast. I'm a 20-year-old college student. I just recently got on Twitter slash X a couple months ago, I think. Mainly got into it in like about a month ago. I was really going into it, and on there, I pretty much share everything investing wise, but I mainly focus on dividends.
Right.
And yeah, that's pretty much about me.
No, that's amazing. I actually noticed that. Like your profile says September 2023, which is just last month. So you've been on Twitter for literally less than 60 days and you have nearly well, we're going to call it 6,000 followers. I was just looking at your Twitter profile and 5997 when I was looking. So by the time people see this, it'll be over 6,000. How did you gain that many followers in less than 60 days?
Yeah, you're actually not the only person that's asked me about this. Pretty much how I am is if I like put my mind to something, I'll keep working on it until I'm like satisfied with it. So for the past month, I've been going nonstop on X slash Twitter. I don't know which one do you want to call it for the rest of
I
the. I'll
keep
just
saying
call
the same
it
thing, X/Twitter.
X. I guess we can go with X. I've been on there for a while, and some people might know I'm pretty much like a reply guy. Mostly is I'll reply to some of the bigger pages, and that'll gain a lot of traction. I'll
Right.
like start having conversations with a bunch of different people, and yeah, that's been like the majority of where followers come from is those interactions that I have. Like some of my replies will get like 20,000 impressions,
Wow.
30,000 impressions, whatever. And that's mainly helped me out. On my personal page, it does well, but not as well as the replies, obviously.
Right, right. So with that many impressions, are you at the stage of being monetized on X?
I'm on track to be monetized. Uh, I think I'm at 1 million impressions for the last 28 days now. I
Wow,
just hit
yeah,
the million mark.
that is on track.
Yeah. So hopefully I can be there soon.
That is amazing. Now, I'm gonna talk about your pin tweet too. I actually should pull it up, but I'll pull it up. I'll pull up your Twitter profile later. So please stick around to so we can prove to you that he is at that many followers in less than 2 months. Uh, but your pin tweet says that you're 20 years old and you're just shy of having $100,000 invested. What 20-year-old has 100 grand, man?
Yeah, if you go on that and you go and look at all the replies, like thankfully it was a lot of support. Like I got a lot of positive feedback, but there
That's
were
great.
some that
That
were
Yeah,
like,
that's nice, right? I'm
yeah,
really happy to hear that it was a lot of positive feedback for you.
yeah, exactly. But obviously with that you'll have some people that are skeptical, some people that are, you know,
Yeah, of
either
course.
negative or whatever. And usually I don't like take it to heart. So if somebody had a negative reaction and like commented on there, you can probably still see my reply to them. Uh, some people like say like daddy's money, things like that,
That's
but
exactly what I was thinking is like so many of those replies must have had that exact comment, right? Of like, "Oh, nice must be nice to have daddy pay for your whatever." And you're like, "No, I've worked for this myself." Right?
exactly. I even like put how much I was given to start off with from my parents, because like obviously with all transparency, like, and some people will look at that and still say and still go on to make those comments. But yeah, I've had like a pretty interesting childhood leading up to where I am. I don't know if you want to get into that. It's totally up
Hey,
to
sure,
you.
why not? Hey,
Uh,
whatever you are comfortable sharing here on the Passive Income Podcast. We're here to
yeah,
listen,
of
we're here to
course.
learn. We love hearing stories. I've had, well over 100 guests from all ages from 16 all the way up to 65, 70, and every
Oh
age
wow.
in between. So, yeah, It's amazing. You are definitely right there at 20 years old. You are definitely in, joining the young guns, as I like to call them. So many, people in their late teens and early 20s that are getting into that investing journey at that young age, and, yeah, you're definitely one of them. So, yeah, feel free to share whatever you would like to share.
Yeah, of course. So just like a little bit about me is I'm originally from Egypt. I moved to the US when I was around 9 years old, I want
Oh,
to say.
wow.
Yeah, and it was a very big transition for
Big
me and my
culture
family.
shock, no doubt, right?
Exactly. I came and I barely spoke English, so definitely a massive culture shock. But like one thing that was instantly apparent to me is that like the opportunity here was like a 180 of what it was back home. And
Yeah.
um I really haven't let that go. Like every opportunity I have, I've done my best to take it and do my best with it with what I've been given. And that's with school, that's with like money, with whatever I've had. That's what my goal was, is if I have the opportunity, then the least I can do is take it. The least I can do is do my best with it. If it fails, it fails. And yeah, money wise, I started out, I've always loved social media. So when I started out, I began building pages on Instagram. And the reason I talk about that is that's where the majority of the money I made was leading up to it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah,
Cool.
I started pages when I want to say like 14 years old, and I was pretty young, like kind of stupid too. And I grew some pages, and then I like some people would offer me money for them. And
I
because
honestly
I
don't
was like,
even know what you mean. I'm too old to know what you mean by Instagram pages. Do you just mean accounts on Instagram where you grew them and then people tried to buy them from you?
yeah, exactly, like pretty much
Okay,
that. I
okay.
would grow accounts on there, like niche pages. Let's say I do like a soccer themed page, a football themed page, memes, what have you. Like I would do that on there, and then people would offer me money for it. And that's when I like started thinking about, okay, this can actually be something that I could have as a job, even though I'm too young to have an actual job. And I'd
You're
get
never
people
too
that
young
asked
to have an
like,
actual job. Coming from Generation X, you know, we started working when we were like 2 years old, right?
exactly. And yeah, that's I still do that to this day. And I've
That
just
is
found that,
amazing.
yeah, I've found that I'm pretty skilled at it. And so I've just taken it to that and used whatever I'm good at, I'll just continue working on. And that's one thing I found I was really good at. And I've grown some pages past the million mark. I recently sold one of my pages that was at like 1.1 million followers
On Instagram.
on Instagram. Yep.
Oh my god, okay. This is like a whole new world to us old people because. Like, we know that there's obviously accounts out there that have, whatever, it's 100,000, 500,000, 1,000,000, 5,000,000 followers, but this is a whole you've just like, did you just see my eyes pop there? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I
I mean, yeah. Not a lot of people, even my generation, know much about like growing pages and selling them and things. I would love to
right.
talk more about that,
Wow.
if given the chance.
Yeah, wow, that's an amazing story, amazing background, and I wanna say that you are definitely not the first, newcomer to North America. Obviously, people know I'm in Canada, so I kinda group Canada and the US together as North America, and you are
Hmm.
definitely not the first, guest here on the Passive Income Podcast who is, a newcomer to North America, whether they've moved to Canada or the US, saying just the opportunity here is uncomparable to what they had back home, whether, like you said, in Egypt, or I've had other guests from other countries, whether it was, I know I had one from South Africa and other, other countries around the world where they've just said, moving to North America was just something that, back home, whatever country they may have came from, didn't even think possible, and now here, like, land of opportunity, as it's all kind of always been called, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely a big transition. Like coming from a developing country, like you noted some like South Africa, Egypt, what have you, it's definitely a big transition to come from there to here. The opportunities available are astoundingly higher, and it's a stark difference.
Right.
You can definitely tell that it is not the same place, and you can go from zero to hero, like they say. Like those
Yeah.
opportunities don't exist anywhere. It's in certain places, and North America is like one of the biggest ones where you have that opportunity to go from nothing to everything, you know?
Yeah. And I've said it so many times, those of us like myself who have grown up here our whole lives and are like generational here, we take it for granted. We don't even think about it. We just take it for granted. And so it's an amazing perspective to hear from people like yourself that have come to North America and say, "Hey, look at what you have here, like the land of milk and honey, so to speak." Again, just an old saying, but the
Hmm.
opportunities are endless.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
I'm
do
definitely
want
blessed to have been given the opportunity.
Sorry, say
So
again?
I was saying it's definitely a blessing to have these opportunities.
Right, yeah, yeah. And that's amazing because again, so you're only 20 years old. You said you moved here when you're 9, so you've only been here 11 years. If I can do math in my head really that's literally only like 2012. That's just not that long ago, right?
Nope, not at all. It hasn't been that long.
But I'm sure it's gone by quickly. Probably great for you through your teenage years to be in North America, in the United States, and just seeing everything that you can accomplish and what you can achieve.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had a lot of people like talk to me about that, especially people that have grew up here. You kind of don't realize what you have unless you
Exactly what
haven't
I just
started.
said. We take it for granted. We take it so for granted, right?
Exactly.
Amazing, amazing, amazing background story. Now I do want to kind of get into so obviously I guess part of it is like the Instagram. I guess I'm going to call it Instagram money. And so at 20 years old, you have nearly at $100,000 invested. And like you said, luckily you had your parents that were able to help you out a little bit at the start, but it wasn't all daddy's money. But hey, you know what? We've all had, everybody has parents that want to help them. Hopefully, if your parents don't help you, then you're in an unfortunate situation. Um, but I guess maybe just talk about sort of that growth of how did you go from using your words, 0 to hero.
um, it wasn't the easiest. Like it all like at the start you'll make like a little by little, and I was
Yeah,
making some off the Instagram pages, and like some of my pages I would be happy when they reached like 1,000 followers, 10,000, what have you, and it all really hit around the same time. It was COVID time is when it ramped up. COVID time was when one of my pages for the first time hit 100,000, then another page hit it, then I had one page go to 500,000, and then it ramped up from there. So it's kind of like in investing in dividends. It snowballs. It's a snowball effect. As you gain that experience, as you gain that time in the market, and for me, it was the time in social media. Like I understood the ins and outs. I knew what post worked, what post didn't, what pages worked, what pages didn't.
understanding the algorithm, so to speak.
Ex- exactly, and understanding how it changes too, because the algorithm can change on you, and you need to be able to adapt pretty quick. And that's why I found the transition to dividends not too hard for me, because I knew that you had to be able to adapt, you had to stay on your feet, you had to stay in the long game, you had to choose the winners, you know?
Wow,
So
amazing story so far. This is incredible. Love it. Keep going. Let's keep talking.
so yeah, pretty much like I was saying, COVID is when it ramped up, and also COVID is when it was the toughest for me because I had to manage all of that besides my school too, because I wanted to go to a great college, and to do so I needed to do well in my classes. So
Right.
some days I'd find myself going home, doing my homework, and then throughout the whole day, like even during my classes, I would be managing my Instagram pages. Like in the middle of class every 5 minutes I'd get free, like that's what I'd put it to. And I don't
Addicted to
know
social
how.
media, but addicted in a good sense because you were growing these accounts. Now, when you were growing these accounts, was it with the purpose of selling them?
At the during the COVID era, it was either to sell them or to grow them even more so I could get more money from advertisements.
Oh, right, because you've got ads, whether it's AdSense or whatever type of ad revenue on those different accounts.
Exactly. And I'd have like for example, my soccer page, I'd have like people that had t-shirts or cleats or whatever merchandise they wanted to sell, so they'd advertise on my page. I
Right.
tried some of it on my own, like trying to drop ship. It didn't work out for me. Some people works out for them, but for me it didn't work out, and I
You
just
were
found
just
it
I'm
too
gonna
much
go
to
with what I
handle.
know, which is growing these accounts, let other people do the hard work. Well, you were doing the hard work also, but you know what I mean? Like, let other people
Exactly.
deal with the actual products and services, and I'll just take a cut.
Exactly, pretty much. Like you could monopolize, and I'm sure that if I kept going, I would have, but it was too much. And I think for me, it was the opportunity cost. If I
Right.
take on trying to learn drop shipping rather than spend that time on growing pages and doing that, I think I would have made less over the long term, anyways.
So I'm very curious, at your peak through it's kinda guessing I'm kinda guessing here that COVID to mid-COVID stage of, 2020, 2021 was sort of your peak on Instagram growing these pages. How many different pages did you have, and how many different niches were you involved in? I heard you mentioned soccer slash obviously football for those of watching in anywhere that's not North America.
Exactly.
But so just talk to me about the different niches and maybe the differences of growing pages in those different niches.
Yep. So, man, that's a tough question. I think niches wise, I can definitely say over 10 niches
Oh
I've
my
been in.
god. Oh my goodness.
There wasn't a niche I didn't try, and the ones that really did well were memes, uh, like sports pages,
Right.
um, news outlet pages. I had like investing pages; those did really well.
Oh, good.
And yeah, sorry, I forgot the second question you had.
Well, no, that's fine because I was actually just thinking too, like, I'm thinking cooking and those types of niches in because you see that all the time on whether it's, X/Twitter, Instagram, even on your Facebook feed and all these other different social media apps, uh, Instagram is very, very famous for people taking pictures of their plate of food at any given restaurant, right? And so
Hmm.
that was kind of one of the ones I was thinking, and I'm guessing if you tried 10 or 15, 10, 12 or 15 different niches, probably food was one of them.
Yeah, food was one of them. It wasn't my best. I didn't do very well with that one, but I did do travel, and travel did well.
Wow. Yeah.
Travel really works well, especially with advertisements. Like a lot of people want to
Right.
advertise
Yeah.
travel
Yeah.
related.
Traveling and the ads obviously go hand in hand because whether it's Airbnb or an airline or a cruise ship or Disney or so many people need like so many in that travel niche that need to advertise. So you're right there saying, I'll take your money.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. Incredible, incredible, incredible story, incredible background. So let's start to talk about the transition then into how you became Drip Dividend. Drip obviously meaning dividend reinvestment plan.
Exactly.
And so you've made a whole bunch of money on Instagram. You had a little bit of startup, we'll call it startup capital. Um, and honestly, I haven't looked it up. I'm going to call it $100 from your parents because I don't want to like maybe it was 500, but let's just say it was a minimal amount because I'm guessing it's nowhere near the 100 grand that you have now invested.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did that
I think it was
transition look
around
like? You
800.
started to think, "Hey, I'm starting to make a probably some pretty good money here in social media in the creator economy," right? I'm sure you probably know who Colin and Samir are, who talk about the creator economy all the time on their channel and on their podcast.
Mhm.
And so you're now making money from the creator economy, and you're thinking at a very young age, I need to think about my future because maybe this doesn't last forever. Was that part of the mindset?
Yeah, exactly. You're pretty much spot on. I knew that like it wouldn't be something that I could maintain. Like, what if at some point the algorithm changes and I can't adapt to it? Or what if this happens and I have to deal with my schoolwork over it? So then I have to put school over it and then the pages don't do or whatever. And so it's always better to focus on the future with what you can that's safe. And
Right.
that's where dividends come in.
All right. Well, let's talk about that then. So, what companies did you first get attracted to, and how did you even think about like the dividends? Because so many people at your age are focused on the growth stocks, which is fine, right? Like at a 20, 25 years old, looking at growth stocks is if I was that age, I'd be doing it also, right? And so I
Mhm.
guess why are you sort of more focused on dividends at such a young age?
So I've actually a bit of a funny story is I did start out with the growth stocks. I did start out with the auctions and I did very well. Then I didn't do so well and then I knew it wasn't for me. Like with options, I think at some point I had made like $14,000
Right.
and then I went on to lose like 11,000 and I was like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm just not
At
gonna
least you were still
mess
up
with it.
3 grand, so that's a good
Exactly. At
sign,
least I
right?
knew when to back out. Um, but then dividends was the one that I always like knew about it, but then I had always had the predominant thought of, oh, it's for old people, like it's for retired people. And then when I looked into it a lot more, is I noticed that it actually does have a lot of growth aspect into it.
Right.
And if you pick the right companies, if you pick the right ETFs, you can actually make a lot more over the long term because growth stocks are inconsistent. Like their return is inconsistent. You're not always
Yeah.
going to find that Tesla. You're not always going to find that Amazon, that Apple, that whatever. So for me, it was much safer to go with either ETFs or dividend stocks that have continually raised their dividend year over year.
Amazing. So, I guess I'm just curious, what were some of the first companies and ETFs that you started investing in?
So one of the first was VOO. It's VOO. I
Yep.
always joke about it and say VOO VOO like a train. Um, that one would just it just made sense, and I picked that one over SPY because for me, over the long term, that one seemed a lot better, and I liked what they had inside it and everything like that, and so that was a simple choice for me.
Interesting. Interesting. So, what are your I guess I'm following along that same thought process of ETF/index funds. What are your thoughts on SCHD as well then?
I actually own that one as well.
Right.
That one I looked at it later than VOO, but I also really liked it, and it is a lot smaller of a percentage of the total portfolio that I have up there. Um, VOO is definitely a lot higher percentage wise.
Okay. Yeah, wow. Very interesting, and I guess I wanna kinda transition now to what are some of the individual stocks or companies that you have in your portfolio?
For individual, I do have Microsoft and Apple to be open about it because love Microsoft and I love Apple and I think over the long term they're just going to continue dominating. I
Right.
don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
Um, other individuals, I have AVGO and that one has seen like a massive rise since I've gotten into it, like 40% up just on the shares. Um, Coca-Cola, obviously, JP Morgan, McDonald's, O Reality, which is an interesting one, especially if you look on X, everyone's talking about
All
oh,
the
and
time, all day, every day, everybody's talking about Realty Income, ticker symbol O.
And I did send out a tweet about it yesterday, so I can't say I'm not a part of them. But
Fair enough,
I
fair
like
enough.
it. I like it over the long term. I mean, 6% yield right now, I think I think we see it go higher than 6% yield. But I do like it at this price point. I think you give it a couple of years and that one will be right back up on its
Right.
feet. And they have amazing holdings. Speaking of like real estate, McDonald's is one of my favorite real estate
I
tickers.
absolutely love how you just phrased that, that McDonald's is a real estate investment. I absolutely love how you just s stated that. That is incredible that someone so young realizes that McDonald's sure, obviously, we all know, we all love their fries. Everybody's eating a Big Mac. We know their food, but at the end of the day, McDonald's is a real estate play.
Exactly, 100%. And I really realized that when I went to visit Egypt and I saw like McDonald's all over the place. Like McDonald's is not just in the US, McDonald's is international
Oh,
and they've got
everywhere, right?
exactly. And what other real estate company can you find that they've got real estate all over internationally and they're also one of the biggest brands. They're also making a ton of money just off of their restaurants. But also they've got all this real estate. So even if they
Yeah.
were to go under, like they've got all that backing them up.
Yeah, they're not going like, even if any given, franchise, doesn't perform well, well, they just sell the real estate and they're still, a ahead, right? Ahead by a
Exactly.
century.
And I'm sure all of the real estate has like on average gone up, especially recently. So
Right.
they're already doing well with it. And they shut down their franchises that don't do well pretty quickly
Yep.
and open them in better places. And that's a business model that you want to have in your portfolio.
And I heard you mention Coca-Cola in there as well, which, it's another extremely strong, obviously, dividend dividend king. I believe they've been paying a dividend for what I'm sure well over 50 years. It's a company that is very, again, very similar to McDonald's. It's in every country in the world except for maybe a couple, say maybe North Korea and Cuba, simply because they don't get along. Let's just use the words "don't get along" with the
Yeah.
United States. But yeah, Coca Cola, another incredible company that is not going away anytime soon. So another company that you mentioned you had in your portfolio,
Oh yeah. Other countries, not countries. I'm thinking about North Korea and Cuba now. Um, Other companies, Starbucks is one of my favorite ones.
right?
I haven't seen like a company as good as Starbucks with their business model. Like it's a genius business model, and everyone buys Starbucks. Like even myself, I'll go to Starbucks, and I don't normally drink coffee, but they've got an amazing place. They've got amazing drinks, and I don't see the hype dying down anytime soon. I know
No.
people have been calling for it to die down for ages now, and it still hasn't. So I think they just will continue to grow and definitely dominate in their sector.
If you can convince people to pay $7 for a coffee and have a lineup for that $7 coffee, you're doing
Y-
something right.
Yep,
I can't argue with
exactly.
that business model, right?
If you can convince people to pay $7 for a drink, I can pay $7 to invest in
Yeah,
you.
great saying. Absolutely incredible, great saying. I love it. That's great.
Um,
So it sorry, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, is that sort of your strategy is for the most part um almost like the SCHD companies, right? Like your McDonald's, your Coca-Colas, your Starbucks, y your top US companies that are strong dividend payers, have been paying dividends for 25, 50 years, whatever it may be. Do you have anything in there that are sort of outliers?
Yeah, I do have a few outliers, one of which being Vici, VICI.
Yeah. That's actually been
I
talked about here a lot on the Passive Income Podcast because I don't know, I guess as investors, maybe we like to gamble a little bit, the Las
yeah.
Vegas Strip. So go ahead and talk about Vici.
This is definitely a controversial one, and it doesn't hold much in my portfolio anyways. I only have 8 shares of it right now. But I do really like what they're doing. I do see it as a bit of a speculative play, like for sure, it's speculative. But
Okay.
also their real estate in Las Vegas is what I'm really looking at.
Yeah,
And
yeah, right?
and I think that they're just gonna do very well there, like especially because a lot more people are going to Vegas, and I don't see that dying down anytime soon. And I think that they're
No.
working to implement a lot better ways of finding newer real estate to add to their portfolio. So that's mainly why I invested in it. Also because a few people on X like were talking about it that I look up to on the platform, and I asked them why they were interested in it and everything, and they kind of sold me on it.
Okay, shout them out. Who are those people?
Do you know Dividend Dog?
Oh yeah, he's been on here. He's been on here a few
Oh wow,
times.
okay. Yeah, he was like one of the major people that sold me on it. He kept talking to me about it. He also sold me on UNP.
Okay. Not
So
financial
those
advice. Don't always follow what other people are doing, but
no, don't.
if you've
Do
done
your
your own
own
due
research.
diligence and done your own research and you can justify what other people are telling you, then that's incredible, right?
Exactly. That's why I love the X community. Like if you go in there with the mindset of take everything that people say with a grain of salt and then do your own research on top of it, your own due
Yep,
diligence, you can actually get away with a lot of great information.
exactly. Yeah. The dividend dog, his name, if I'm not mistaken, I think I remember this correctly, is actually Teddy Williams. Ted Williams, the which is obviously the same as a famous baseball player from like 40 or 50 years ago.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, Dividend Dog is great. He's been on here, like I said, a few times, and I love my interactions with him. And yeah, Vici is an incredible idea of investing in the Las Vegas Strip primarily. Because who doesn't want to say, "Hey, I own a little tiny piece of the Bellagio or the MGM Grand or Caesar's Palace or whichever other
Exactly.
hotel or casino it may be," right?
hmm it's a
Amazing.
it's a great holding, but for me, it is still speculative because I don't think it's gonna bottom out here. I just think that it might take more of a hit. Obviously, not financial advice. Do your own research, but that's why I'm
Yep.
only at 8 shares right now.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? 8 shares is a lot more than 0 shares,
Exactly.
which is what I always say. It's like just get started, get your feet wet. You don't necessarily have to jump in the deep end. 8 shares might sound like a lot to some people, and maybe it is depending on your financial situation, and to other people, 8 shares is a drop in the bucket. So don't be discouraged by somebody saying, "Oh, I have 5, 8, 10, 100 shares of any given company," because everybody's situation is different.
Exactly. And always remember where people start out with. Like Warren Buffett didn't start out with $1 billion in hand and didn't start investing with that.
Right.
You've got to always start somewhere. And I always say the hardest part is starting. Like a lot of people will be so worried about taking that first step. Will be like, oh, maybe I don't have enough, maybe whatever. But honestly, once you start, it gets easier from there.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up when you said, "Maybe I don't have enough," because your generation, when it comes to investing, you guys have it so easy. It's so easy. You download a free app on your phone. You have 0% commission. You can buy a fractional share for $1. So you can literally get started with $1. All you need is a dollar. Everybody can find a dollar. Go find 4 quarters in your vehicle or in your couch or whatever. It's a dollar. Back in the
Mhm.
day, and I referenced this episode of the Passive Income Podcast so often, episode 40, Master P at Obdaguru, where him and I talked about what it was like trading in the 90s. And definitely for someone your age, you need to go back and listen to that episode because it you would not even be able like, those, uh on all those posts now where, like, the North American mind can't comprehend, the European mind can't comprehend. Well, th the Gen Z, the 25-year-old mind can't comprehend what it was like trading in the '90s.
No, I definitely see that. I've seen like some people post on X about like their paper shares of what they had in
Yeah.
the company. I'll definitely check out that episode too,
Yeah,
and I
episode 40,
suggest
I'll give you a kind of the brief, synopsis of it where, Master P at OptGuru was explaining how he would drive around with a roll of quarters so he could find a payphone to call his stockbroker, and he would have a 16-digit PIN scribbled in his wallet to, like, recite to his stockbroker over the phone. So
oh wow,
and every trade, buy or sell, was like a 50, $60 commission, right? So
wow.
yeah, again,
Yeah,
like,
that,
you're paying $120 to try to break even, so, nowadays, we have these incredible apps on our phones, 0 commission, and we can look up everything we need to know, whether it's on, Google or Investopedia or YouTube or, just asking people on X and whatnot. All of the information is right at your fingertips, whereas back then, the internet was in its infancy, and you could still find maybe some information on the internet, but next to nothing. You literally would have to go to libraries and read newspapers, and obviously the newspaper is just printing what happened in yesterday's news, basically, right? So,
yeah,
I highly
exactly.
recommend anybody who is under 30, just go back and watch episode, 40 of the Passive Income Podcast with Master P. It was an incredible conversation. I'm sorry to kind of, dwell on that one, but,
No,
for
I'm definitely
everyone
gonna be
your age, I
checking it out
really hope
myself.
that you can kind of learn from that, right?
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Let's keep moving along, and we've talked a lot about sort of, I guess, the index funds, some of the individual stocks you've had. Are there any other, like, sectors that you would like to get into, or you're still very young, so you have so much time to maybe think down the road about getting into whether it's, REITs or energy or the financial sector or I could kinda list so many different sectors, right? And kind of any thoughts on any of those different sectors, or is that just something for your future?
Well, there is one that's on my mind right now. I'm not sure if you saw it earlier today, but Bill Ackman, he sent out a post that he covered his short on the bonds market. And like TLT, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I've been looking into it for a while now, and it's just been decreasing, and I've been wanting to buy it. And after his tweet unfortunately went up from like, I think it was at $82 and some, and it went up to like 85 or so. And that one is one I'm definitely considering, especially with or just going into bonds themselves, buying treasuries, because especially at the rate they're at, the 10-year just hit 5% today.
Right.
Um, yeah, which is one thing I am considering. But as for like sectors, I have been looking into the automotive, and I want to get into that sector in some sort of way. I've looked at Tesla, but for me, Tesla is a bit overvalued and it's a risky play. But I have been looking at things like Ford or GM
Okay.
to get into.
That's very interesting that you mentioned Tesla in the automotive sector because obviously they do make cars, so technically they are the automotive sector, but I've had so many other people on here that have basically just said, you know, Tesla is a technology company. They're a tech stock. And
For
I kind of, well, I definitely get the argument, not even the argument, the discussion on both sides of that, right?
hmm No, I definitely see the tech side to Tesla, and I can't say that it's not. And it 100% is. For me, I feel like when you think Tesla, you think their cars, And so that's what's really going to drive the majority of normal folk and the average person, is that Tesla is the car. And if any issue happens with their cars, then that's what's going to affect like how the normal people and the average person think of
Right.
Tesla. And that's why like I just go by it being automotive. But I think the tech side of it is pretty much the reason it's valued at where it's at right now.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
for me, it's too risky to go into it, unfortunately. I would love to own Tesla, but if it goes down to a certain price,
Yep.
that
That's
would be worth it.
that's understandable. I get that, thought process 110% for sure. And I get the idea too, like Ford and GM and the other car companies, they're not going away anytime soon either, so for a
Hmm.
long-term hold, why not? Because, hey, they're gonna jump into that EV market as well. Well, they already are jumping into the EV market, and they're still building, the ICE vehicles as well. So,
Hmm.
I totally get that idea. People need to drive vehicles, especially those and again, I'm sure you've seen this as a newcomer to North America, where we have these vast expanses of land where you don't have the option of, public transit. There might not be a rail line or a bus service or wherever. You need to be able to drive to so many, especially I know the US is very similar as well, but especially in Canada where if you need to get somewhere in northern Saskatchewan, you need to take a truck or an SUV or something or whatever. Like that's the only way to get there. There's no other option. So
Hmm. Exactly. I don't see it going away anytime soon. And controversial opinion, I don't like the Cybertruck.
that's not a
I
controversial opinion. Nobody likes a Cybertruck.
really okay. I'm glad. I much prefer the F-150. Like
That
that's just
F one
me. It
fifty
looks like a
Lightning is
truck.
bomb, man. That Cybertruck is just not.
Exactly. I don't know how people wanna ride in that. Like to me, it
Yeah.
just looks like a blocky Minecraft design.
It
But
looks like I've never played Minecraft, but I've seen, like, YouTube videos of Minecraft, and, yeah, it looks like something out of Minecraft, and the F-150 Lightning looks like an F-150, and
and
the
it looks like a truck.
F-150 has been the best-selling vehicle, not just truck, the best selling vehicle in North America for, like, 50 straight years, right? So, why wouldn't you just keep making something that keeps selling?
Exactly. And so for that reason, like that's why in just the automotive perspective, I like Ford or GM more.
Yeah.
It's because they've been dominating in their sector for so long now. And
Yeah,
that's
100
usually what
years.
I look. Yeah, exactly. That's usually what I look for with stocks, is the safer it is for me is that they've had time in that market. They've had time in that sector and they've dominated year
Right.
over year. And so they've kind of built a name for themselves. Tesla is actually relatively new
Yeah, for
into
sure.
the market, so it still needs a lot more time to prove itself. Obviously, it's proven itself up until now, but for me, it's not proven itself for long enough yet.
I am really happy that you brought up the automotive industry because no one else knows, but you and I were actually going to record this episode a week ago, but you had some car issues and you weren't
Hmm.
able to get back in time to record, which is fine. We were able to reschedule and everything worked out well. But I kind of want to bring up the idea of having an emergency fund, and luckily for you, it was just the car battery, and of course, a car battery, depending on what type of car you have, can range in price from say 60, $70 up to 130, $150. So
Hmm.
it's not like a major expense. But what if it had been more than just the car battery?
Yeah. And I think going off of that is that the importance of an emergency fund, like we were talking earlier, is you need to have one in place. And I know a lot of people will tell you, no, you don't need an emergency fund, and you can just have your credit card for that if you have a steady stream of income. But for me, no matter what steady stream of income you have, you need to have money set aside for emergencies. Like that's the whole point of an emergency fund. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're familiar with Dave Ramsey or not, but he's
Somewhat. I
basically.
honestly I don't follow him on Twitter. I don't watch many of his videos, but obviously I know who he is.
Hmm. he's a big proponent of having an emergency fund, and I see the reason. For me, it's the emergency fund shouldn't exceed like um probably have around 1,000 in an emergency fund,
Oh, interesting.
and
That's a very low number because so many people say you should have like 3, 6, 9 months worth of life expenses, which, depending on your lifestyle, could be 30 grand, right?
that's true. For me, at least, like where I am is like in college, and I live off of like my scholarship. So the only emergencies that will arise will be a lot less than 1,000. And so
Right.
that's why I keep my number so low. But obviously, if you're living on your own and you have like a house, a car, and everything, you need to be able to pay for all that for a consistent amount of
Your
time.
gas, your groceries, your mortgage, your heating bill, your cell phone bill, your internet bill, like, yeah, trust me, it all adds
Exactly.
up real fast, right?
Real quick, especially if you're out for like 3, 6, 9 months, whatever it is, it'll add up for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm very happy that that your car troubles did was just a battery, which, like I said, was is a relatively sure it's annoying that you have to go and spend that $100 or $150, but it obviously, as you mentioned before we started recording, it could have been a lot more if it had been not just the battery, right?
Exactly. It feels like the alternator, the starter, whatever it is, that would have caused you to get a mechanic, caused you to do a lot more and pay a lot more to
Yeah.
fix it.
Well, there's another great point. A battery is pretty easy to swap out yourself for the like
hmm
really everybody should be able to change the battery in their own vehicle. I'm not sure how batteries work in EVs. I've never had a Tesla, obviously, but to just change a battery in any ICE vehicle, it's as simple as changing the battery in anything else you change a battery in, right?
And there's YouTube if you're ever confused on
Yeah,
how to do
exactly, right. Good old
it.
YouTube University, just go and learn how to do it.
Exactly. If you don't know how to jump start it, you can find that on YouTube, how to change a battery. Everything is like easy access now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Going back to what I said about the '90s is like wasn't as easy for us back then, but super super like, I would love to be your age in this day and age just because, like, everything is right there at your fingertips, right? You just pick up your phone and, hit Google or YouTube and just search it up and figure out how to do it. It's so much easier.
Yeah, for
I'm not
sure.
saying is everything's perfect because I get it. I know, like, everything isn't always perfect in life, obviously, but man, you guys your age in your 20s, you just don't you just don't know what it was like back then for sure.
Well, I mean, my dad and my mom, they always talk to me about it, and it's it's definitely a lot different. And
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
we have so much opportunity in front of us, and especially in this day and age, a lot of people can choose to either take that or not take that, and you
Right.
know,
I love and let's I'm gonna circle back now because that's actually a great segue transition. Like, you can either just kind of on social media, you can just keep scrolling, 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 and wasting all day every day. And believe me, I've been guilty of doing that a few times myself, where it's like, oh my goodness, I've just spent 4 or 6 hours scrolling really retarded TikTok videos. How have I done that? Right? And we've probably all been guilty of doing that at this in this day and age. But or like yourself, you can say, "Hey, what can I do to monetize this and make this valuable? Turn my time into something I can, profit from."
yeah. And also, like, funnily enough, I don't actually personally use social media. Like, I've cut out any personal use. I only use it if I'm growing a page or doing it for something that's useful. Like, for example, on X, I only use it to grow drip dividend, the page. On Twitter, I mean, not Twitter. On Instagram, I only use it to grow pages, so I don't use it for any personal. Like TikTok, I don't have at all. That
Right,
one is off my phone. I hate TikTok, and I hate like what it is and what it does. In my opinion, it's a terrible app because it wastes like 4 or 5 hours of people's days, and
Yeah.
they can't even recall half the videos they watched, even 80% of the videos they watched, and it's just a big time
Yeah.
waste. You could be using that time. I like it for if you're gonna advertise a product, obviously, like that's a great way to advertise, but apart from that, I really don't like the app.
Yeah, with that said, I've kind of same, like, I've avoided TikTok like the plague for pretty much well over a year, even going on 2 years now, so, um, but it really sounds like you've taken that social media and just discovered how to not let it become a time waster, but how to make it more valuable to you.
Yeah, exactly. I think you can do that with most of the things that people do for fun. You can actually turn it into something that's valuable. Like if
Wow.
you enjoy reading for fun, there are sites that'll pay you to read certain things and to write a
Yep,
review. If you enjoy cooking, why not cook and also make videos on YouTube of cooking? If you enjoy
right.
talking to people like yourself, why not make a podcast
I'd
and
say
you know
that's
talk?
exactly why we do this.
So there is a way to make money out of pretty much anything, and you just have
Awesome.
to put your mind to it, have to think creatively and use it.
Awesome. I do want to, share your Twitter page here, and because it is very inspiring. Is it up there now? Yeah,
Yep,
there
I
you
see it
go.
now.
So, you can find them on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, at Drip Dividend. 20-year-old college student tweeting daily about dividend investing and building wealth, current annual dividend income 2,500, not financial advice. Joined less than 60 days ago and has, we're going to call it 6,000 followers. That's incredible. And the pin tweet, I'm officially 1,500 away from having 100 grand invested in dividend stocks at the age of 20. So yeah, just great content here on X. And yeah, so definitely check out at Drip Dividend on Twitter. The link will be in the description. So yeah,
Thank
just
you so much for that.
yeah, no worries, no worries, no worries. And definitely, obviously, I don't know, maybe from your Twitter you can find all of those different Instagram accounts. I'm not sure all your different Instagram pages, but I'll definitely have the Twitter in the description. I see we're already well over 50 minutes, probably pushing that hour mark. And
Mhm.
it's been an absolutely incredible conversation. Totally have loved talking to you at your age and what you've done with social media, turning it kind of reversing that of being the time waster and making it, I guess, kind of like a job. Well, it is, right? Like a job to monetize and grow those Instagram pages to millions of followers and then being able to just sell them. That's an incredible story. And then using that money to invest. Wow. Like, oh,
Yeah,
incredible story. Incredible, incredible, incredible.
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I've absolutely loved talking to you, and
Nice.
I'm definitely going to check out that episode
Nice.
and look
Yeah.
into it. I wanna see what it was like investing back in the 90s. I'm definitely interested to hear more about that. And yeah, it's an amazing podcast channel. I definitely will be tuning into a lot more episodes from here on out. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
thank
for
you. I
having.
appreciate that. Like I said, I've had so many guests on and the conversations have been absolutely incredible. So many people at so many different ages and stages, and we've heard so many different stories and strategies and opinions and journeys and paths. And it's just absolutely amazing to hear from everyone. And like you said, yeah, just like I do just like talking to people like yourself. So that's sort of why I started this, and it was like, if the passive income posse never or podcast never makes a dollar, it's doesn't really matter to me because I'm learning so much just talking to people. I've learned so much in the last year talking to so many people that I can't put a dollar value on that.
And I love that the things you do for fun and the things you do for a great reason. Like you will
Yeah.
be if you're fine with not making money off of it. Those are the ones that will succeed the most. Is what I
Yeah,
feel like.
hey, and
And
well, and don't get me wrong, if YouTube decides to send me 100 or $500 every month, I'm gonna cash those checks, God, right?
sure. For sure. And that's why I think your podcast will be successful is because you're okay with not making money. Your whole point for making is not for the money, you know?
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
a great
It's like I said, if at the end of the day YouTube sends me some money every month, I'm gonna take it for sure. But at the end of the day, it's really all about talking to people and having great conversations and learning from everyone. And that's another big thing. Like I'm 50 years old, but I've learned so much from a 20-year-old in this conversation, and that's what we really have to take out of life is that it doesn't matter how old somebody might be. You can learn so much from people that like you're 30 years younger than me. In this last hour, I've learned so much from you, right? You've probably learned nothing from me. I've learned an
no, no.
absolute ton from you.
Well, I'm glad to have been given the chance to share it with you, and I hope it helps you and helps anyone that listens, you know. Just
Awesome.
keep at it, find something you're good at and stick to it. That's really what works.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of
I
course.
just one last I guess final thought. Anything else you that we haven't covered that you kind of would like to put out there? Anything else you'd like to say? Any other shout outs? Anything investing related, anything. Just throw it out there. Anything. Everything's on the table right now. Go for it.
All All right. Well, I mean, if you've been listening this whole time and you've gotten to this point and you have not subscribed to the Passive Income Podcast, I don't know what you're doing, to be honest. It's you should be subscribed, and it's definitely something that's great to just have playing and to listen to, even if you have it in the background. And I think you can learn a lot from it. There's a lot of great information to be learned. I've learned a lot just from being here for this past hour. And yeah, yeah, my shout out goes out to the Passive Income Podcast.
Awesome.
Make
Oh,
sure
I
you're
thank you.
subscribed and like it.
I appreciate that so much. That's amazing. Uh I'm not sure if any kinder words have ever been said on the Passive Income Podcast, but you see that ticker symbol below. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.